Hello, this is Jason Wong. So today wants to touch base on the buying side of the real estate transaction. I think first and foremost, almost everybody will understand about before you go out and look for properties, you really want to know about how much you can spend. So your best choice is to talk to your local bank, and also may have a mortgage broker on your end, on your side as a comparison, in terms for the interest rate and also the repayment program. Some of the local bank, they actually are quite competitive in terms of the offering, and if your credit score is pretty good, they may actually can take off some of the points. So never ever just talk to one lender. At least have two or three lenders on your end. And what I found here is a lot of mainland bank, they are pretty good at funding the mortgage. But there may be some exception if you're buying some properties that may have a challenging issue. For example, is a termite damage, or the home inspection report have shown other like maybe flooding or electrical or unauthorized accommodation happening inside of the property. Because the mainland bank, they use one standard to measure across all 50 states of borrowing and lending practices. There would be a chance that there would be a delay for the underwriter to approve the final funding process. And if you are the buyer or you are the agent who is helping the buyer, I think that will be the time that is the most stressful, because you want to deliver the contingency removal to the seller and the listing broker as soon as possible, if not on or before the deadline. And sometimes mainland lender, they have the tendency not knowing about there's a time zone difference. So by the time when they got anything from Hawaii, if we're talking about East Coast, maybe 5 to 6 hours time difference. West Coast is 2 to 3 hours time differences. Depends on the daily savings time kicks in or whatnot. And those always poses a huge challenge between realtors and also the stakeholders to get a firm grip about whether the mortgage application and the fundings are being done on time. And for the escrow officer, they actually have very little things they can do because state of Hawaii is an escrow state. So everything that from the buyer and also the seller, they have to select one common escrow officer to handle the whole transaction. So the escrow officer is actually a neutral party, and they only kind of perform any instruction with both buyer and the seller agreed upon. So when there's a challenge in terms of funding, and it affect the final recording of the title, that is a main challenge if a buyer select a lender from the mainland. Compared to a Hawaii-based lender or banks or underwriting process, because most of the bank, they have a long history of buying of funding mortgages. So some of the things, for example, like termites or pest issues, the local bank, they understand, and also sometimes if there's a flooding or plumbing or flood zone issues for the structure, the local lender, they usually have more intimate knowledge about what is really the issue. And most of the local banker, they will put in the extra mileage to try to close the file for the buyer. So that's the main advantage to kind of like getting a mortgage application and also the paper done in the local level. Because state of Hawaii actually is a very unique state. We're surrounded by ocean. And also our pest issue, the termite, and also the climate is kind of like different as well. So having a local expert to help you to for the lending process, it will be quite advantageous, especially if the property is very competitively bidding, you know. So let's say you are in a multiple bid, and somehow your bid got, I mean, got. I'm pretty sure the seller or the listing agent will be inserting this clause code, saying about maybe 48 or 72 hours. If the funding is not here, they may collapse your offer and then will resell the property to the next best bidder during the multiple offer situation. So you definitely don't want to jeopardize your position of losing the property if mainland lender doesn't have too much knowledge about here in Hawaii. Uh, and then the other thing about the buyer is even though you have your agent to help you to kind of like go through the whole contingency timeline, as a buyer you also needs to take off some time to go through all the paperwork in person. It happens sometimes there may be a language barrier that the buyer may not understand all the English fine print being print on the contract. um, I I always want to say it, please and please and please find your friends, relative, son or daughter to help you to go through all those contract paperwork, because all those contract paperwork, they are legal documents. And if you make a mistake and you initial and sign on things that you have no really good knowledge about it, don't sign it. Sign it unless you're 100% sure what you're signing for. Okay, so that's really really important, because down the road, for example, like those sellers property disclosure statement, if there's any checkbox that the seller disclose that you are in doubt, again, find the uh, subject matter expert, whether it's an inspector or even a legal counsel, to kind of go through it, to making sure when you accept any statement or addendum, you fully understand why you did that.